Hey guys, Agrarian Libertarian here with you today. We're just a few days away from the election, today being November 2nd, so 4 days out, and um, it seems like this election cycle, as we get closer and closer to uh, the election day, it seems like things are getting more and more absurd and obscene. Um, let's talk to let's talk about real quick about the Democratic Party in North Dakota, the Dem NPL, and one thing that two things actually that's been really um, exhausting with them is you have Heidi Heitkamp making a terrible mistake in publishing the names of abuse victims in an open letter, um, violating, I believe, violating a whole slew of not just laws but just common decency. Uh, because now you have a bunch of women who were in hiding and now outed, and uh, no amount of apologies can make up for that. Um, and then second, last night with the Dem NPL party claiming that if you're a North Dakota hunter and you hunt out of state, that if you vote in this midterm election, you won't be qualified for any out of state hunting licenses, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Not at all, actually. Rob Port did a really good article regarding this exact thing that came out yesterday, and I encourage you guys to read that article. And if you have any questions regarding that, to contact both the Secretary of State's office and the North Dakota Game and Fish, because they'll have the necessary information to let you know what your rights are regarding that. Of course, as a libertarian, I think hunting licenses are a little ridiculous, but that's the system we have now, so you gotta deal with the hand you're dealt. So there's that. Next up, just some personal endorsements that I want to make. In my district, I live in District 35. That is central Bismarck, downtown Cathedral District area. You can find a map of it on the Secretary of State's website, where all where your districts are. Anyway, in my district, I am without a doubt throwing my endorsement behind Gary Emineth for Senate. Our district, and frankly the state of North Dakota, can no longer afford liberals, the likes of which come from Aaron Oban and Heidi Heitkamp. The Democratic Party has moved sharply to the left, and they will continue moving sharply to the left. They've become unrecognizable, and quite frankly, our district does not need that kind of liberalism. Our state doesn't need that kind of insane leftist dogma, if you will. We don't need that anymore. Well, we've never needed it, but we certainly don't need it now. So Gary Emineth for District 35 Senate, he has my support. He has my vote, and I'm proud to say that I'm voting for him. Next up, in this election, in Burleigh County, I'm throwing my support behind Brian Johnson for Burleigh County State's Attorney. My reasoning for that is that I've known Brian for a long time. His kids and my brothers and I were in Scouts together, and great people. And you won't find anybody more dedicated to his job than Brian. When he was a police officer, now as a lawyer working in the state's attorney's office for Burleigh County, he's seen both sides of the coin. He's been on both sides of the law in terms of being both the law enforcement officer and the lawyer on the other side of things. Um, he's got the drive and the will to do it, to get it done. And you have to realize that this office, the Burley County State's Attorney's Office, has not been open in 20 years. So, um, and I don't want to say it's been open, it's been up for election, but it's been the same person winning over and over and over again. And finally, the person that ran it before is no longer running, thank goodness. Um, but now we have people like Julie Lawyer, who I get that she's a great attorney. Um, but here's the thing, in my opinion, she's padding her resume in such a what I find is a displeasing and not so tasteful manner. So, please vote for Brian Johnson if you live in Burley County. He needs your vote, and I'm more than proud, more than happy to endorse him. Next up, we have a sheriff's race between Kelly Laban and Nolan Canwright, and I'm putting my support behind Nolan Canwright. He's got what it takes to be the sheriff that we need for Burley County. He's, in my opinion, he will be a very, very constitutionally minded sheriff. I don't know about Kelly Laban. I think, much like Julie Lawyer, he's padding his resume as well. So yeah, I say vote for Nolan Canwright for Burley County Sheriff's Office. There's all sorts of other statewide races out there. District 7, Rick Becker needs your support. If I lived in District 7, I would vote for him without any hesitation. Up in the Minot area, Ole Larson needs your support. So those of you that live up in Minot live in District 3. I believe that's Ole Larson's area. Vote for him. I've had the chance to shake his hand a couple of times. One time at a Second Amendment rally back in the end of June, and it was a pleasure meeting him and talking with the short while that I did talk with him. And guys, don't lose focus. Liberty is the end goal here, and but realize that wielding liberty does not go without having responsibility over yourself and people that are in your care. Liberty is incumbent upon you, and you have to preserve it, and you have to be responsible for it. You have to be responsible for yourself, and rights don't come without responsibility. It's that simple. And to those who are or who would call themselves anti-libertarian, I think that's kind of the point that you're missing. To my anti-libertarian potential anti-libertarian watchers here, is rights don't come without responsibility, and the responsibility is not upon the government to dole out rights. We have natural innate rights, and the rights start with life, liberty, and property. Life being paramount above them all. So, let's talk about the measures. Measure 1 is the Ethics Committee measure, and it sounds good. It gives the appearance of being needed in our state government, but the problem is the way the measure is written is concerning, primarily because it gives a whole lot of power to this newly formed ethics committee should the measure pass, and it has no unchecked power. We have a system of government that has checks and balances for itself, and if you have an ethics committee that runs wild, the potential exists for that ethics committee to be used in an unethical manner force, eventually, maybe force out any and all dissenting thought in the legislature, and that's not how things work. Next up, Measure 2. Measure 2 is all Measure 2 is, guys, is a change of wording in the Constitution for who can be a qualified elector in an election, and it changes the language from how it is currently. Every American citizen can vote, and the language is changed in this measure to only American citizens can vote. And it's a change it's a clarification is what it is. That only American citizens can vote, because in other states you have other states like California granting rights to non-citizens to vote in American elections, and that's dangerous, guys, because you have people who aren't from this country illegally who simply don't have that right to vote because they're not citizens. They don't have the skin in the game like citizens do. So if you want to vote in our elections, then you have to become a citizen, in my opinion. And, all you left libertarians will jump on me on that one. I don't care. Be a citizen to vote here. It's that simple. Measure 2, that is an overwhelming yes. I'm voting yes on that. That is a much needed clarification in our Constitution in North Dakota. You need... Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that last part. But anyway, doesn't matter. Next up, Measure 3 is the legalization of marijuana. Don't let the fear-mongering scare you, guys. If I can boil it down for you as simply as I possibly can, it allows the state of North Dakota to tax and regulate marijuana as if it were alcohol. That's it. It doesn't allow you to drive. It doesn't allow you to drive under the influence. It doesn't allow you to be a total jackass and be high on pot and do whatever you want without consequences. Nothing like that. So don't let the fear-mongering fool you on this. I'm voting yes on Measure 3, primarily, really, out of spite of from 2016 when medical marijuana was on the ballot. And here we are 2 years later, and now the state is just getting around to enacting that the medical marijuana. Not to mention, the legislature truly abused and changed the intent of the medical marijuana measure from 2016. So I'm voting yes on it on Measure 3 out of spite. Really, because I'm mad. People who might agree with me are mad on this too. So it's a yes on Measure 3. Next up, Measure 4, which is special license plates for volunteer emergency responders. And this is another one of those feel-good type measures that gives emergency medical responders a new license plate free of charge to those responders, that also give them free access, open access to state parks. Now that sounds good. It's a good way to maybe entice people to volunteer in their local departments, be it ambulance or fire. But here's the thing: North Dakota DOT is running out of money. They're recording shortfalls, and if we enact this measure, we're just going to have more of that. And next up, if we're going to spend that kind of money on getting these responders special plates on their vehicles, I think these responders would like more to have updated, newer, better tools and equipment and life-saving devices to give their communities and the people that they save the best kind of care, the best kind of equipment that they can to do the best that they can for these communities. And so yeah, if we're gonna spend that money, because it's gonna be spent anyway, it's the government, for God's sakes. Let's do the best we can with that money. Preferably, I'd like not to spend it at all, but sorry, once it's in the government's coffers, it's going to be spent. So let's make sure we spend that money wisely. So and I say this as a former responder for a rural department, and it's hard work being a local volunteer responder. But like I said, as a former responder myself, for an ambulance crew, a volunteer one, we need to make sure that we have the best equipment available to us. And I don't care if I get special plates, doesn't matter to me. I don't think it matters to a lot of responders. What matters to responders is the ability to do their job, do it well, do it efficiently. And that's what they need, is better equipment. And I'd rather my tax money go to that than to plates. So yeah, measure 4, excuse me, that's a no. So, guys, just vote your conscience. There's a few races out there that are going to be hard to vote on. I'll be honest with you. With the Senate race between Heidi Heitkamp and Kevin Cramer, I believe Kevin Cramer's going to win because Heidi Heitkamp's made some crucial mistakes. Her party's made some crucial mistakes. Her campaign's made some crucial mistakes. And you can't make these kind of rookie mistakes so close to election day. I can't in good conscience vote for Heidi. She, for some reason, keeps voting with the Democrats rather than what her constituents in the state want. She claims to want to help children, but the problem is she keeps voting to abort them. As far as I'm concerned, it's just that simple. But then on the other side, you have Kevin Cramer, and Kevin Cramer, he's one slick operator. I grant him that. The problem that I have with Kevin is that he was originally elected to the House of Representatives in 2012 as claiming to represent he's the Tea Party candidate. That we're taxed enough already, and he quit being that the moment he got to Washington D.C. So we need to look at Kevin Cramer with a magnifying glass and make sure that when he becomes senator, that he doesn't go the route of John Hoeven and become an empty suit and just fails to become as accessible as he has been as representative. He touts that being very, very accessible to the people as a trophy piece, I guess, and good for him. To be honest with you, he's been great at being accessible to the public. But here's the thing, Kramer, we elected you in 2012 to be our representative in Washington to fight against the insane amount of spending and the insane regulation and taxation that we normal people have to face every day. And you've failed to be that, Kevin. You failed to be any sort of Tea Party person. You abandoned that the moment you stepped into Washington, D.C. So, in good conscience, Kevin, I can't vote for you. My principles do not allow me to. My principles also do not allow me to vote for Heidi. So, this is one race that I'm just frankly going to abstain from. So, the next race, another race we have is Attorney General. I'm not voting for Stenjum. That's quite that simple. He's the establishment candidate for that, and I'm not voting for him. So yeah, this is one crazy election. Oh, Secretary of State, Michael Coachman. I'm voting for him. He's the only, really, he's the only candidate on there that's really qualified. Josh Boucher, he may have ideas to modernize the office, and I admire that. Problem is that Josh Boucher is, in my opinion, an activist Democrat, and he will turn what is a glorified record-keeping job into a platform of activism and progressivism, and I don't think North Dakota can risk that. Next up, Al Jaeger, current Secretary of State. He's been there for 26 years, guys, and it's been 26 years of atrophy. You'll see pictures of him with papers strewn all over his desk and piles and stacks. Why do we have that when we have so many, computers and things? Why are we still doing things by hand when it comes to processing records? We have computers that can do that and lickety split more efficiently as well. I will say this though, Al Jaeger knows the job in and out, but Al Jaeger's failed to modernize the office. So, in an age of sports car politics, we have a dinosaur. So we can't afford the dinosaur anymore. It's inefficient, it's cumbersome, and we need to start streamlining some things. And so yeah, my vote is behind Michael Coachman. So vote for the coach. All right, that's all I got for you guys now. This is kind of a longer video, 22 minutes, wow, or 23 now. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting election coming up. So I've made my endorsements here. I've laid bare some problems that I have, especially with the Democrat Party, certainly with a couple of campaigns from them. Oh, tax commissioner. I gotta end on this one here. Tax commissioners between Kylie Overson, the Dem NPL, and Ryan Rauschenberger. This is one convoluted race. You have Kylie Overson, she is accomplished, I grant you that, but she's another activist Democrat, another progressive that North Dakota can't afford to have as tax commissioner. And then you have Ryan Rauschenberger, the guy, he's a drunk. He's flat out a drunk. There's no other way of putting it. He does not belong in office as tax commissioner anymore. He's betrayed the public trust. He can't handle himself. And if he has poor self-control, he has poor control over the office he holds. And he'd be best to just bow out of the race. And we need to have somebody who's an actual independent in that office. So I'll be writing a name in for that one. I'll be writing a name in for the Senate race. I'll be writing a few names in, and I know people have been saying that they're going to be writing my name in, and I'm honored, I'm flattered. But so yeah, that's all I have to say for now, guys. This is the Agrarian Libertarian signing off, and I'll See you in the next video.